Mr. Speaker,
Order. Questions for oral answer. Mr. Yip Hon Wing.
Mr. Speaker, may I have your permission to answer the first three PQs filed by Mr. Yip Hon Wing and Mr. Louis Ng together?
Yes, please. 1 to 3.
COVID-19 has catalyzed the transformation of workplace practices. Businesses have adapted quickly, and many have implemented work-from-home arrangements. SMEs can tap on government grants, such as the Productivity Solution Grant, to adopt digital solutions that enable productive remote work arrangements for their employees. In 2020, 3 in 4 employees worked in firms that provided some form of remote work arrangements. The number of hours spent on remote work would vary depending on the type of businesses and the workers' needs, and MOM does not track this. We expect work-from-home arrangements to become a more mainstream option. Majority of employers said that they would allow their workers to continue to work from home for at least a quarter of the time. We should not rush into hasty legislation that unintentionally creates workplace rigidity that may impede our economic recovery at this time. Our approach for workplace flexibility should be inclusive and not just about working from home. The 2019 Citizens Panel on Work-Life Harmony highlighted the diverse needs of various sectors and jobs, such as the needs of frontline workers differing significantly from that of office workers. For example, work from home is not practical for the work that most frontline workers perform. It is therefore critical that a holistic approach be taken to enable more workers access to practical, flexible work arrangements, be it flexi-load, flexi-time, or flexi-place. To this end, the tripartite partners have been reaching out to employers and unions to promote the tripartite standard on flexible work arrangements. We had also formed the Alliance on Work-Life Harmony last year, involving community stakeholders such as employers, employees, and HR professionals. The Alliance for Action created communities of practice for the food services, manufacturing, and finance sectors respectively, to exchange best practices and develop implementation resources that were suited to companies' sectoral needs. For example, the COP panelists shared how staggered working hours could be offered to online production staff who required them to flexibly manage their personal responsibilities, such as childcare. The HR profession, through the Institute of HR Professionals, also came together to develop a playbook on hybrid workplaces. We are continuing this ground-up effort by growing a community of work-life ambassadors to champion and support these efforts at the workplaces. Even as work-from-home arrangements stabilize, we are mindful of the risk from blurred work-life boundaries. The Tripartite Advisory on Mental Well-being was introduced in 2020, and one of the key recommendations was for employers to set reasonable expectations of after-hours work communication, such as not requiring employees to respond to non-urgent work-related messages and emails after certain hours. The AFA on work-life harmony also developed an after-hours communication policy template to make it easier for companies to establish and communicate progressive after-hours communication practices. The government will continue to work with our tripartite partners to expand the provision of flexible work arrangements in a sustainable manner.
Mr. Louis Ng.
Thank you, sir. And I thank MOS for the reply. But could I have two clarifications? One, I'm not asking for 100% compulsory work from home, but to legislate the right to work from home, and also to give employers the right to reject for work-related reasons. So, for example, if there is a face-to-face meeting that day, then the employee won't be allowed to work from home. Two, I do agree with MOS, we shouldn't jump into legislating things, but the fact is we have been debating this right to work from home for quite a number of years in this House now, even in the pre-COVID days. COVID has shown that work from home is possible, so I'm just wondering what is stopping MOM from legislating this right to work from home?
I thank Honourable Member Mr. Louis Ng for that question, very thoughtful one. Well, the number of workers with access to flexible work arrangements has increased steadily over the years. From 2014 to 2019, the proportion of employers who offer at least one formal flexible work arrangement on a regular and sustained basis rose from 47 to 53%. And during the pandemic crisis itself, work from home as a form of flexible work arrangement has also become more common. Now, the member asked, why don't we legislate the right to request for work from home? Well, I think, the economy is showing signs of recovery and that more employers and employees are more comfortable and used to the arrangement of work from home, there remain uncertainties. And as we look at other countries that have similarly introduced legislation to allow employees to request to work from home, it is actually uncertain. The outcomes are actually rather mixed on whether this legislation makes a substantial improvement in the work life and also the flexibility that employees have. After all, like the Honourable Member said, employers will also have the right to reject the request for work from home. So I think we have to take a practical approach towards this. And I fully agree with Honourable Member Louis Ng that legislation may not be the best solution. In fact, what I think we should focus on is in enabling employers and employees with resources and with guides to help them implement work from home and flexible work arrangements in a practical manner and a sustained manner.
Mr. Yip Hon Wing.
I thank the SMS for her reply. I have a similar SQ, and where I note that the ministry doesn't want to impose rigidity in workplace arrangements. Can I ask what are the plans for the ministry in enhancing or updating existing legislations like Employment Act, Occupational Safety and Health Act, Workmencom, etc., to cover work from home situations and essentially to cover the home as a workplace? Thank you.
The Employment Act covers basic terms of employment, such as timely payment of salary and leave benefits. The protections offered under Employment Act are not location-specific. So whether an individual is working from home or working in the office or working in the factory, the Employment Act covers them. Now, workplace safety and health, some of you might remember, last year, the WSH Council issued a bulletin to inform employers about risk assessment for work from home, and that there is a checklist that helps employers as well as employees identify hazards when they are working from home. On WICA, the the Work Injury and Compensation Act, we have also similarly clarified that regardless of whether an individual is working from home or working at office or at a work site, WICA applies. I think the key is about proving that the injury is incurred while a person is doing work and not performing non-work related duties.
Mr. Melvin Yong.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I thank the MOS for her reply. I have two supplementary questions. The first, I think the tripartite advisory has been launched for quite some time already. How many companies have actually adopted some of the tripartite advisories that we have been put out on work-life harmony? The second, my second supplementary question relates to this commentary written by a Financial Times writer, which was republished on Channel News Asia just this morning, that mentioned that the disconnect between how bosses find workers to be less productive when telecommuting, but the workers themselves feel that they are busier than ever, right? So there's this disconnect. The writer argued that telecommuting makes workers busier simply because of the increased number of virtual meetings and having more internal coordination, emails, work-related communications. But such additional work does not always translate to effective work outcomes. I'm of the view that we will need to come to a new social compact when it comes to such telecommuting work arrangements and reset expectations on what working hours are and what is productivity for those who work from home or those who adopt hybrid work arrangements. So can the ministry study this issue in detail and provide recommendations on how workplaces can come to a consensus on such a new social compact and provide both employers and employees tools to manage the unique challenges posed by such telecommuting work arrangements? The NTUC will be most happy to work with the ministry on this.
I believe Honourable Member Melvin Yong was referring to the tripartite standard on flexible work arrangements and tripartite standard on work-life harmony. Tripartite standard on flexible arrangement was introduced in 2017, and today the number of companies that have adopted this tripartite standard actually covers 1 in 4 employees in our workplaces. So actually the progress has been steadily increasing, and we are quite glad for that. I think certainly there's room for us to encourage more companies to come on board. I think for bigger companies, probably, the confidence is a lot higher because they have the capacity and the expertise to implement flexible work arrangements and work from home arrangements more satisfactorily. For small companies, as SMEs, for example, I think there might be more help required, and that's where the resources that have been put out by the tripartite partners, the Alliance for Action on Work-Life Harmony will come in useful, and we will encourage companies to take a look at them. On tripartite standard on work-life harmony was introduced barely a year ago. I think we should give it some time, for companies to take a look and also get our employees and unions to work with the employers to adopt this tripartite standard on work-life harmony. On the point about making further studies on how we should define productivity and how we need to safeguard employees, from the perhaps the ability to disconnect from work when they are working from home and not suffering burnouts. I think we have debated this last year as well. It's important, I think, that we take a practical approach towards this. Certainly, more studies would help inform employers on what are the practical approaches and tools and norms that they should consider. But I think we should be mindful that a single guide or a single solution may not suit every sector and may not suit every job out there. And of course, even amongst employees, there are diverse needs. There are people, who may find that work from home is suits them very well. But we also know of individuals who prefer not to work from home, maybe because the home environment is not as conducive. Perhaps, they feel that their own productivity, is not as high when they are working from home than in an office environment, which is specially prepared, for them to be able to work and also interact and take part in teamwork and team meetings with their fellow workers. Thank you.